afternoon and welcome to the Asian Midday Market Watch, powered by Rajhi Bank Malaysia and broadcasted out of Rajhi Bank's offices in Kuala Lumpur. David Kuo, founder of the Smart Investor Singapore, is our guest today. David, good afternoon.
Selamat tengah hari, Brian.
Now, David, how have you been? How was your week so far?
So far, so good, but I do have a little gripe. You know, last week I missed your show, but that was primarily because I had my router changed, right? And after the router was changed, the internet worked fine, but anything that was attached to the router had to be reconfigured again. And that started me thinking about the Internet of Things. When the Internet of Things comes in, everything will be linked to the router. And so therefore, if you have the router changed, some things may work, other things may not. It took me nearly a day to reconfigure my printer to work on the router. But anyway, I mean, that's just my rant for the day on Internet of Things.
But you know, here's what's going to happen. Because you have AI technologies, that will basically sort itself out probably with the press of a button.
Famous last words, Brian.
Now, before we get your insights, I want to take a look at crypto markets and then regional stock markets. Now, Bitcoin is at 39,528. It's up 0.32%. Ethereum is at 2,920.88. It's up 0.96%. Looking across the regional stock markets, markets in Japan are closed today for a holiday. And so we start close to home with the SGX, which is at 3,362.22. It's up 0.81%. Now, from where I'm from, KLSC is at 1,600.09. It's up 0.17%. Shanghai is at 3,022.48. It's up 1.58%. The ASX All Ordinaries is at 7,708.2. It's up 0.86%. The Nikkei is at 26,847.9. It's up 1.75%. The Hang Seng is at 21,080. It's up 3.96%, very sharply. In fact, now it's up to 4.02%. And rounding up the numbers, we've got the Kospi, which is at 2,691.77. It's up 0.91%. Now, David, what's your view on how markets have performed this first half of the day, particularly the Hang Seng, which is up almost 4%?
Okay, I think in general, everything in the green, so that looks pretty good for day traders. They'll be making some money today. Hang Seng is actually a very specific case in that many of the tech stocks were doing particularly well today. And there are some rumors at the moment that maybe the regulators in America may use a soft touch approach to delisting some of those Chinese stocks that are quoted over in America. So that has given the Hang Seng a bit of a fillip. Here in Singapore, I think it's mainly the banks that have been driving the stock market. We had some good results from DBS, OCBC. UOB less good, but in general, I would say the banks are doing pretty well. And going back to Hong Kong again, I would also say that the banks are recovering slightly after that little bit of a shock from HSBC, which said that it would be slowing down its share repurchases because it was hurt a little bit badly by the property markets in China. But in general, I would say things are looking pretty good going into what is going to be a long weekend for many countries over here.
Absolutely.
We've got a public holiday on Monday and then Hari Raya on Tuesday.
Correct. Now, I want to zoom in on what you just talked about in terms of the banks, because the banks' results in Singapore for DBS, UOB, and OCBC are actually probably better than they seem.
They are definitely better than they seem, and they're certainly better than market expectations also. What really happened last year, when you compared the results this time to last year, profits are down 10%. So there'll be a lot of investors out there saying, oh, profits down, must be bad. But in actual fact, when you have a look at the fine print, what happened last year was that the banks were too pessimistic at the start of the pandemic. So they made a lot of provisions for bad debts. But as we came into 2021, what they said was that things don't really seem as bad as they were. There weren't a lot of companies defaulting on their debts. So the provisions for bad debts can be added back to the profit loss accounts. And so it gave an artificial boost to the profits this time last year. And so when you compare now with last year, they're down 10%. But in general, I would say it looks pretty good to me. So I'm not disappointed in the banking results at all, Brian.
I want to look at the US dollar now because obviously the US dollar has been strengthening. What are the implications for this strengthening of the dollar on Asian markets?
Right. There's a couple of implications. I think the first one will be money flows out from Southeast Asia and also North Asia. And if people see that interest rates in America are going to be higher, then they're going to say, what? Why am I getting so little over here in Southeast Asia? I might as well convert whatever I have, say, in Sing dollars, Malaysian ringgits, whatever it is, into US dollars and take advantage of that higher interest rate that's going to be available. I might be doing something similar, Brian, very shortly, because up until now, I mean, some of my excess cash has been locked in renminbis, and so the differential between the renminbi and the US dollar is starting to narrow, and so therefore, why do I want to leave my money in China when I can put it into US dollars? So that's the first thing. The second thing is a stronger US dollar could enable American consumers to start thinking about buying more Southeast Asian goods. So exporters over here, I think, are going to benefit sharply from a rising US dollar. A strong US dollar could be good for many of the exporters over here. But there is one caveat, of course. Inflation is a problem in America. And I came across a phrase when I was looking at the Coca-Cola results, Brad, and I had to sort of read it twice to try and understand what they said. The phrase was that it has been expanding single-serving offerings at affordable prices, right? Single-serving offerings at affordable prices. What it means is that they've been making the packaging smaller, Brian, right? So instead of that big can of Coke you had, is actually much slimmer. The price has probably not changed a great deal. It's still affordable, but in actual fact, you're getting less for your money. So I think that is really what is going on as far as inflation in America is concerned. If they can, they'll put less potato chips in a packet. They'll put probably less cereal in a box, but they're going to sell it at the same price, which is good for the manufacturers because they're going to be making more money than they did previously, Brian.
But all of this is going to have a big impact on inflation domestically in Asian markets because on one hand, you have this cost pressure. On the other hand, you have the rise in food prices. You've got the in raw food prices as well as commodity prices.
Well, yeah. I mean, there was something else that sort of came out yesterday from one of the food chains that we are very familiar with, McDonald's. And what it said was that diners are starting to trade down to cheaper menu items or smaller orders, right? It's great for me who wants to lose a bit of weight, so I'm going to be eating less. But it is a real problem, Brian. People are going to have to start to decide, what do I do with the dollar that I have in my pocket? Do I put it into food or do I put it in somewhere else? And that's somewhere else, Brian, which I think is going to be one of my thoughts for the week when I start writing something for the Smart Investor, which is some people may start thinking about cutting back on providing money for their pensions in the future. And if they say, I need to put food on the table now, or do I put money into my pension for the future? And that decision is going to impact their lives probably in the next 5, 10, 15, or 20 years' time. And it's a crucial decision that they have to make. Do I eat now or do I eat later?
And David, that's a very pertinent point because in a separate discussion, which will take a whole half an hour for sure, that's already happening in Malaysia because of our pension funds. Thanks again, David, for coming on the show.
You're welcome, Brian. Have a good day. Have a good weekend.
We've been speaking to David Kuo, founder of the Smart Investor in Singapore, on Biztech's Asian Midday Market Watch, powered by Rajhi Bank Malaysia. I'm Brian Fernandez. This video and podcast will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our social media platforms. It will also be on Rajhi Bank's social media platforms. Please like and subscribe to our various platforms. Thanks again for tuning in.